Welcome back to Fantasy Filmball's coverage of the 37th Annual Virginia Film Festival. My name is Dyl, and if you've been watching so far, you know that we are on day 5, so thank you so much for staying up to date with just my thoughts on all these movies, and I hope that at least I've made one of these sound interesting enough for you to go out and check. But today I will be seeing 3 films, all at the Paramount Theater. That's the big one here. I've seen Anora there so far, I've seen Bird, and today's films include The Fire Inside. It's written by Barry Jenkins. Brian Tyree Henry is in a starring role. I drafted this one to my Filmball team and pretty quickly traded it away, and kind of similarly, my second film, which is Joshua Oppenheimer's feature-length directorial debut, The End, drafted that, traded it away pretty quickly. But this one I'm very excited for. I've stayed away from all promotional material. I just know it's very divisive, it's a musical, it's original, it's creative, and you know me, that's kind of like Dill bait in a sense. And then my last film is the Golden Lion winner out of Venice, The Room Next Door. There's so much Oscar prospects and Oscar buzz around this film because it's a Best Picture nomination guaranteed when you win the Golden Lion in a year 10, coming from a major film distributor, starring big Hollywood actors like Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore, as well as being directed by Pedro Almodovar. We'll have to see. I finally get to have my say into the conversation today. But I'm excited to wrap up my coverage here of the film festival this year. Doing 2 festivals back to back definitely takes a little toll on you. I did Philadelphia, which I saw about 12 to 15 movies there. Here in Virginia, I'm seeing 14 in person, 20 overall if you count everything I saw ahead of time. So definitely a little movied out, but I'm excited for my final day because we have 2 Tilda Swinton movies, The End, The Room Next Door, as well as just another day at this amazing festival, which I love so much. So let's dive inside episode 5. And if Violet Crown was my home yesterday, Paramount's my home today.
What you're about to see is a dynamic and an inspirational true story of Clarissa T-Rex Shields, who is arguably the greatest female boxer of all time and inarguably the most decorated American boxer in the Olympics. I think one of the elements that's really unique about the film you're about to see is that it covers not just what happens in the lights and when someone finally achieves their goals and fame, but what happens afterwards and the struggles that one has to contend with, and it does so in a beautiful way.
The first film I watched today was The Fire Inside, MGM's newest film, and oddly enough, it reminded me a lot of a film I watched last year at the Virginia Film Festival, being Rustin. And the main reason would be is both of these films follow their genre's typical tropes. Rustin is a historical drama, it hits all the narrative beats. The Fire Inside is a sports drama, it hits all of the genre tropes. But both of these films are amplified by just some outstanding performances. Rustin had Coleman Domingo, and The Fire Inside boasts 2 of them with Brian Tyree Henry and Ryan Destiny. Brian Tyree Henry is an actor for me at least who, whenever I see him in a film, I'm always happy because I've yet to see him deliver a bad role. He may sometimes be in films that aren't for me, but he's always one of the highlights of those movies, and The Fire Inside's no different. He breathes so much energy into all the scenes that he's in. He's funny, he's compassionate, he really sells those dramatical beats, and a lot of the film does weigh on his shoulders. But you know who packs a real punch inside this film? It's Ryan Destiny. This is the first time I've seen her, and when I Googled just to make sure that she did get nominated for the Gotham Award the other day, which was much deserved, she's 29, but she sells this teenager's bravado so well, and you feel the energy, you feel the hunger, and you feel the chip that she wears on her shoulder throughout this film's runtime. And speaking of the film's runtime, it has its peaks, it has its valleys, but overall I found Rachel Morrison's directorial debut to be a pretty good time overall. You can definitely see her influences from her past work as a cinematographer, working with renowned directors like Ryan Coogler on full force here, but I think this is a pretty great first step in her directorial journey, and I'm very excited to see where she goes next. Fire Inside, it's a fun time, just not a very memorable one. Alright, since we're seeing all 3 films here today, just saw The Fire Inside, about to see The End, let me give you the rundown of the pros and cons of the Paramount Theater, because the biggest pro here is this is the biggest theater here at the festival. It seats like 2,000 people, so you're gonna get in, regardless if it says it's sold out online, like Anora the other night, sold out in like 10 minutes when tickets went on sale. Everyone that rushed line, they got inside that theater. In addition to being able to sit so many people, there's so many options of where to sit. You can sit up in the balcony, you can sit down low by the stage, you can sit down low in the back half of the theater. You're gonna have options for every type of viewing experience. And this last one is a positive for all three of these theaters that showcase films at the Virginia Film Festival. The sound, it's really good. You're not gonna have any poor audio or any poor sound design in any of these movies. The sound system, it's great. That is going to lead us to some of our negatives though, because you can fit so many seats inside here. Sometimes the seats aren't going to be the most comfy. They're not going to have the most leg room, especially if you're sitting up in the balcony. If you're not on the front row of the balcony, your legs are going to be a little bit smushed. And the last thing, it's not a huge negative, but if you're seeing a lot of films at a festival, sometimes you want to eat while watching a movie, knock two things out at once. Paramount's food selection isn't the vastest, isn't the largest. They got popcorn, they got sweet treats, they got alcohol, they got sodas and water, but they don't have like meals, which isn't a huge negative. Just like I said, if you're watching 3 films in a theater one day, you may want to eat, multitask a little bit. But first film's done, I am going to go eat. So let's hop into that, and then we'll dive over to film number 2 of the day, Joshua Oppenheimer's The End.
Quickly want to thank Neon and Tom Quinn, their CEO and founder, for giving us not just this film.
I think the film exists at these 2 allegorical levels. The characters are nameless because they're all of us, and we are them. And it's an allegory for the entire human family, the entire human species, and it's at the same time, it's any one of our families. And I think one of the challenges and sort of thrilling things about the film is that it exists always on these 2 allegorical levels at the same time. It's each and every one of our families, and it's the whole human community. In this day and age, making a film like this is not easy. I think the film, is sui generis. I don't think that it could possibly have been made. The film is a moral warning and it's a cautionary tale about what happens when we falsely define our families as, in the most limited private sense, to the exclusion of the broader human family, as I just alluded to. And in that sense, let me just make an impassioned plea, especially on the eve of the US election, for the importance of a public sphere. This film could not have been made predominantly with private finance. The film has the generous support of Neon, which is the US distributor, and they are the most committed and adventurous partner a filmmaker could possibly have. But around 70% of the budget is film institutes from around Europe. This is public arts support from the UK, from Ireland, from Italy, from Germany, from Sweden, from Denmark. And without that kind of collective decision to support the art of telling stories as a means of changing how we understand the world, bringing new ways of seeing and imagining the world into existence, The End would not exist.
Fresh out of The End, and I could not wait for The End to end. It felt like it took an eternity because I avoided all of the promotional material and all of the buzz at the earlier festivals that it premiered at, because this film on paper sounded right up my alley. Something we've been talking about for Oscars all year long. It had Neon, Joshua Oppenheimer, such a visionary creative director at the helm, as well as being the return to the golden age of musicals. Ultimately though, after watching The End, I found this film to be very grand in scope, like the bunker it takes place in, but also to be very hollow and empty, like the vast space of this cave that I just said it takes place in. I feel like Joshua Oppenheimer has so many ideas he wants to discuss with this film, and that's evident by the Q&A that I just watched, where he's talking about so many deep topics and deep subjects and how important they are and how much he cares about them, but I just feel like the film's execution doesn't really back those up. Well, he can say the film's about this, it's about that. The film itself, the actors, the script, the camera doesn't really echo those same themes. This narrative just feels muted and dull. And like I said, he has so many ideas that he wants to bring to the paper. Maybe it is overdrawn with this super long runtime. Maybe it is the nameless characters that we're unable to latch onto. Or maybe these ideas are just too big and too grand for the medium that he's trying to tell it in. He talks about these dreams that he has of how he wants to adapt into the film, but at least to me, something feels lost in translation, and I always felt disconnected and arm's length away from this film, which I'm very upset about because I was greatly anticipating this. I was wanting it to be one of my favorites of the festival, but ultimately I may be leaving this with my least favorite of the festival. In addition though, one of the things that makes this such a disappointment for me is just the style of filmmaking. I feel like this film showcases all of its pizzazz, all of its different artistic styles within like the first 15 and 20 minutes. But this movie, it's like 3 hours long, and it just gets to be so repetitive, so dull, so thought-numbing, and you just cannot wait for this film to be over. It is like avoidant of close-ups. It only wants to stay medium to wide shots, which is cool when you do it in an interesting way. But like I said, to me, this film just felt so long. It was such a struggle to get through, which is sad. But we have one film left to go here at the 37th Annual Virginia Film Festival.
And on behalf of UVA, I would like to welcome you to the closing night of the 7th Annual Virginia Film Festival. How's everyone enjoyed their festival so far? Thank you. The legendary Pedro Almodovar, and the winner of this year's Golden Lion for Best Film at the Venice Film Festival. Thank you once again for your support for the Virginia Film Festival. Let's do it again same time next year. We hope you enjoy tonight. Thank you.
Shout out to The Room Next Door for absorbing the mediocrity of the other films I saw today, because I found this film to be quite exceptional. And I think all those jokers out there that said The Room Next Door was a mid-Golden Lion winner at the Venice Film Festival are simply wrong, because Pedro Almodovar's latest film shines with its dynamic blend of comedy and drama. It nails this soap opera feel that we kind of got out of something like May December last year, and it elevates it to a brand new level, because this film, kind of similar to May December last year, has an outstanding performance of Julianne Moore, but then you add to that Tilda Swinton as well, and you have two of the best performances I saw all festival long. I found that Almodovar's direction as well as adaptation of the source material here to be quite riveting, and that he masterfully blends sharp comedy with these heavy, deep subject themes. In addition, Alberto Iglesias' score complements this film beautifully, because it emphasizes those moments of comedy as well as giving those more dramatic moments room to breathe and for you to really feel the full emotional impact. Overall, I'm a big fan of The Room Next Door. I guess I can see why some people think this film's mid overall, but to me, I really enjoy this. This honestly might be my favorite Almodovar film that I've seen so far, and at least the buzz inside here at the Virginia Film Festival, a lot of people really dug this as well. Just walking out, the 5 people in front of me all gave this a love on the scale. It's the first time I've seen that all festival long. But yeah, with that being said, that's a wrap on the films that I'm seeing here in person, but as you know, we do this with all of our festival coverage. We have some Filmball awards, so let's dive into those. Welcome back. It's the next day. I'm back in Philly, and that is a wrap on the 37th Annual Virginia Film Festival. This was another year of great movies from top to bottom, and I absolutely love attending this festival. I haven't been to many. I haven't been to TIFF or Cannes like Matt, but I've been to a fair share, and Virginia will always have a special place in my heart because this festival is just outstanding, as you can see from the last 5 days of vlogs. But I figured, now that we're at the end, let's take a look back at our second annual Fantasy Filmball Festival Awards for the Virginia Film Festival. And you know, since I saw so many program movies this year, with the help of London, with the help of Philly, with the help of some critic screenings, I figured I would add a category this year for Best Technical Achievement. And at least for me, the tech element I want to highlight this year at the Virginia Film Festival is the cinematography of The Girl with the Needle, done by Michael Demick. He has been a festival favorite of me before because he is the cinematographer of EO, one of my favorite films of 2022, where I found his work to be very outstanding in that film, and he's back again with The Girl with the Needle, a beautiful looking film. The film itself has a lot of deep, dark subject matters, some that worked, some that didn't. But the one element that The Girl in the Needle was exceptional in would be the cinematography. So now let's dive into some other awards here for the Virginia Film Festival. The next one up is going to be the Ensemble of the Fest, and I kind of feel lame with my selection here because it's the same as the Philadelphia Film Festival. It's Anora. I found, especially on a rewatch, how kinetic and how great this ensemble all works together. You have comedy, you have drama, you have serious, you just have every element that you want out of an ensemble, and they all fit together so perfectly, and these people feel like they've known each other or they haven't known each other depending on what specific scene that we're in. My standouts of this cast obviously is Mikey Madsen. She was here for a Q&A. It was great to hear about all what went into her performance as Annie. And then in addition, Yuri Borisov and Mark Edelstein are just so good, and they're completely different sides of the die. Yuri Borisov is much more reserved, he's much more warmer, a quieter type performance that packs a big emotional punch, while on the other hand, Mark Edelstein is just a comedic genius. He's probably the funniest performance of this entire festival and one of my favorite supporting performances all year long. So after Ensemble, we're going to move over to Best Animated Documentary or International Picture, which this year I will be going with Memoir of a Snail. And this one's kind of a weird case because I did not technically see any documentary features this year, which is really weird for me, at least at this festival, because I always catch one or two, but I did see a lot of animated and a lot of international features. I think of the 20 films I saw overall, 11 of them fit into these categories. So this was a real tough race all the way up until the end, but I think Adam Elliott's film is just my favorite of the bunch. The stop motion animation inside this film is breathtaking, and I found, again, kind of like Anora, the comedy and the drama to blend so well together. During this screening, so many people in the audience were cackling with every joke, and then were also sobbing tears when the emotional beats hit very hard. It's a film I'm very excited to recommend to other people. I'm excited to hear other people's thoughts on this film, because for me, it was one of my favorites of the festival. So following that up, I'm going to dive over to the Best Screenplay prize, and this is going to be the first one I'm giving to a film I didn't physically watch at the Virginia Film Festival, but I saw ahead of time at a press screening, being Jason Reitman's Saturday Night. I found the angle they went about telling the story of the 90 minutes leading up to the first ever episode of Saturday Night to be quite riveting. And I know this film, it's Saturday Night, you're expecting a comedy. The comedic elements aren't the highlight to me. The highlight to me is how riveting and how engaging this screenplay is. It keeps the pace up from the start to the end, and you're always on the edge of your seat, wondering what chaotic events are going to be following up the previous ones. It somehow always ones up the previous one, and overall, while I may have issues with Saturday Night as a film overall, the screenplay is an element I do truly adore. So before we dive into the acting, the directing, and the Best Feature prize for the Virginia Film Festival this year, I want to give an honorable mention to Scene of the Year. I mentioned this a little bit in the Philadelphia Film Festival video when I gave this film the Best Lead Acting Performance, but here in Virginia, I'm going to be giving Scene of the Year. That is The Seed of the Sacred Fig, and it is the Where is the Gun sequence. This scene is filled with tension, and you are like biting your fingers here while you're watching the sequence to see how it plays out, because without going into too many spoilers, the patriarch of this family has a gun, and it mysteriously goes missing, and the scene takes a long extended tracking shot paired together with some very tight close-ups of these characters, and you can feel the anxiety in this room as he is searching high and low for this gun, and you can see the horror in his family, who some of which did not even know he had a gun, as well as trying to figure out who is the one that did take the gun and where did they hide it. So now we're going to dive into the acting prizes for the 37th Annual Virginia Film Festival, and the first one is going to be the first movie I saw from this festival entirely all the way back at the London Film Festival. It's going to be Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez in the supporting category. I could just rave about this performance. She sings, she dances, she acts her ass off, and it's truly just a captivating experience to watch her inside of Emilia Perez. We've all seen Zoe Saldana throughout her illustrious career, whether that's in Avatar, Guardians of the Galaxy, the MCU, or other countless blockbuster films, but it's been forever since we've seen her have an opportunity like this to showcase all of her amazing talents, and I hope that my random shout out here inside this video won't be the last time that she gets acclaim for this performance. And then over in the lead category, I'm going to give the prize for most outstanding lead performance to Susan Charity of On Becoming a Guinea Fowl. I feel like she wears the weight of all the anxiety, underlining tension, and family horrors on her shoulders inside this film. And while I didn't really connect with On Becoming a Guinea Fowl at large, I found Charity's performance to be so moving, and she really captures the energy and the essence that you're wanting in these scenes. Kind of on the same lines of Mikey Madsen and Honora, she gets moments here to be funny, to be relatable, to be down to earth. But when she has to go big, when she has to really drive in those emotional moments, you feel them. And she is the highlight of On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, and she is one of the most outstanding lead performances that I saw at the entirety of the Virginia Film Festival. So now we're down to just 2 prizes, and we're going to dive into Achievement in Directing, which will go to the closing night film, the final film I saw at this year's Virginia Film Festival, Pedro Almodovar's direction in The Room Next Door. I love the way that his camera breathes life inside this film, because this is a film that has a very weird and out there and unsettling tone to some people, but I feel like Almodovar's camera and his direction of these actors really helps drive in the thematic elements and the emotional resilience of this film overall, because when the comedy is presented, you are laughing and you are riding with this film's momentum. When it takes a darker, deeper turn, you feel that inside, and you feel the longing and the heartbreak of these characters, because it's a way that you could direct and approach this material to make it come off as distant and unengaging and kind of poor in taste. But I feel like Pedro's brilliance in the director's chair really oozes through in this film, and he perfectly makes this film both an enjoyable and fun experience while also being one of the most heartbreaking films that I saw the entirety of the Virginia Film Festival. So to wrap us up here, we have the Best Feature Prize, the best film that I saw, all 20 of these films going head to head, and if you've noticed here, I can only give each film 1 prize. That way we don't have a sweeper if I ever saw a film that I thought was just phenomenal and outstanding, one of the best of all time, because I did this year at the Virginia Film Festival, but I feel like it's unfair to really pair that film up in competition with the rest of the films I saw in this year's lineup, because I saw a 40th anniversary restoration of the original theatrical cut of Amadeus, Milos Forman's masterpiece, one of the best films I've ever seen in my life. I remember walking out of that theater a few days ago on one of the highest highs I've ever had in a film. I'm not going to gush too much about Amadeus here, but it has some of the best acting performances of all time. It is one of the most well done, technically crafted films I've ever laid witness on, and this film was so thoroughly engaging from start to finish. I loved Amadeus, but it's unfair to compare with the rest of these films because it came out 40 years ago. It is a Best Picture winner. It's a Best Picture sweeper. It won 8 Oscars, 8 very deserving Oscars. But speaking of Oscars, the film I am awarding Best Feature to, I hope can win in one of the categories it's eligible for, because it's eligible for Best International Feature and it's eligible for Best Animated Feature, and that is going to be the Latvian animated film Flow. This film absolutely blew me away, and I was quite mesmerized while watching Flow. The beauty of the animation paired with these tracking shots inside the film, you feel like you're there in person with these animals who can't communicate to us, the audience, because they can only speak what these animals can speak in real life. So a cat meows, a dog barks, a capybara makes whatever noise a capybara makes, and I feel like that makes the film all the much better because we don't need dialogue to understand the emotions and the motivations of these characters, their actions. It shows it. The direction here is flawless, and this is just one of the most moving and one of the most mesmerizing, one of the most engaging films I saw in all of 2024, and I just love the opportunity to see Flow. It was an amazing film, and I hope everyone out there has the opportunity to see Flow here in a few months. But yeah, that is a wrap on the 2024 Fantasy Filmball Virginia Film Festival Awards. I had a great time at this festival, like I told all of you out there. And if you missed any of our festival coverage, it's all linked on the channel. So if you made it this far, I appreciate your watch time. A like, a subscription, it helps our channel continue to grow. But we'll be back with our regularly scheduled Oscar predictions later this week. Matt will finally make his return to the channel, and we're diving deep into Best Picture. So you don't want to miss that. But until next time, my name's Dyl. This has been Fantasy Filmball. Peace.